Hey, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for those of you in the East Coast and in Europe. This is Mike Garner, Chief Customer Officer at OpenMethods. And I've got Mike Hensley, the smarter of the two Mikes, who heads up our solution consulting group here at OpenMethods on the phone as well. And he'll be showing you the technology we're going to discuss in action. So the two Mikes are here. In your panel, on the GoToWebinar panel, there's a question section. We're going to be respectful of your time today, so we've got a lot of information to cover in 30 minutes, especially with live demonstrations of the technology. So any questions you put into the panel today, we'll get back to you on an individual basis over the next 24 hours. So feel free to use that question section. During the course of the webinar, we'll also make available an attachment inside of the control panel under the question section. We've created an Omnichannel playbook, best practices from 20, 30 of the big leading brands out there that we've worked with in terms of how they're delivering a never repeat, never start over service experience, even when the customer journey goes from web to chat to email to IVR to agent. So it's pretty cool white paper. This session will be recorded, so if you registered and weren't able to join, you'll be hearing this after the fact in DVR mode, and you can certainly have any friends, family, and colleagues listen to the broadcast and watch the broadcast in DVR form. So let's get right into it. So again, I'm a recovering operations guy, so I used to run consumer sales and service operations for Verizon, then ran a company called Afni that we grew to about 5,000 contact center agents, and so I still have a slight tremor when I talk and walk just because of my operations days. So I appreciate the fact you guys have to get up with all the problems you have to face and not me anymore. But in that experience, overall, all that time and across all the industries and verticals and brands that we've been, sort of in charge of being the brand ambassadors for, this is what we found was that every customer, regardless of the nature of your business, wants to feel four things when they interact with your brand. They want to feel like you know them, that you know your stuff, that you're going to respect them and their time, and that you're going to keep them informed. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. And I haven't had anybody that could refute that those are the four things that people want to feel. So how do you deliver on that desire? So know me. And that's really this. When I come in to the website, log in, or if I give you information about who I am and what I'm trying to do on the IVR, for instance, please don't ask for that information again. Act like you know me and that it's Mike and that I've been a customer for a while and that sort of thing. Know your stuff. So if you know who I am and you know what I'm trying to accomplish based on maybe clickstream data from the web or what I've already done in the IVR in terms of the reason for my call or any progress I've made trying to self-serve, when it gets to an agent-assisted situation, how do we take what I know about who it is and what they're trying to do and drive me to the open incident? Drive me automatically there. Pre-populate as much information as you can so that, again, the agent never has to go backwards in the steps to resolve the customer's or the member's question. Match the workflow to, caller ID, who's calling, maybe the called number. Maybe you've got a number of different 800 numbers, and based on the number they called, that tells you what the intent of the call is, and let's have that drive the appropriate workspace in Oracle Service Cloud. Call reasons, campaign codes, product codes, all sorts of really cool stuff that you can now drive in terms of, if I just collected that one more data point on the front end in the automated system, web or IVR, I could use that to drive automatically the right workspace and display the right context for the agent when they get involved. The biggest thing is respect me and my time. Again, never ask a question you should already have the answer to. Keep me informed is more about proactive outbound communications that's really taken off. There's some really cool stuff out there in terms of, hey, I think this is a situation with this customer, maybe even in the cable industry, a lot of set-top boxes will talk back and say, you know what, this person needs a new set-top box, and automatically the company knows that, send an outbound message that, hey, let's go ahead and set up a service call before the customer even knows they have an issue. Let's get that traded out. So there's some really cool stuff around that. The biggest thing that, and as we get into PopFlow and how it saves a serious amount of time and effort for the customer, but also the agent, this is why it's such a big deal. customer effort score, which is the customer's perception of how easy it is to do something, get something done with your brand, is actually the highest correlation to loyalty and propensity to spend more money with your brand than even Net Promoter Score and certainly customer satisfaction score. So it's just a huge, huge deal, and there's a lot of research on this. You can check it out at the Harvard Business Review. So it's all about being easy. And when you say easy, it's about first conversation resolution. If I start out on the website and I try to find an answer to my question, maybe I have to go, maybe I start chatting with somebody live, and then I got to run off to work or something, so I call in later. It's when I call in, that's coming through my phone switch, and if I don't have any visibility into, I had already had a chat session and was working my way through the problem or the question earlier. If I'm blind to that, I'm going to start over. I'm going to start that customer over. Who are you? How can I help? That's when loyalty falls off a cliff in terms of first conversation resolution, because now it becomes a second conversation in the customer's mind. Forrester came out with their seminal work on sort of the future and the state and the future of contact centers. It's must go digital or die. Excellent paper if you haven't seen it. There's 6 keys to really getting it done right and doing it in a repeatable way at scale, personalizing service at scale when the customer has so many options in terms of channels. We're going to focus on the 2 with PopFlow today. Harmony actually works in concert with Oracle to get the other 4 done. But how do you monitor the self-service journey and pass that information to the agents, and how do you empower those agents then to not start over and take up where the customer left off in that self-serve channel? Just by opening and keeping the doors open for the customer to interact with a brand in the channel of their choice, every metric that matters to you as a contact center leader automatically goes up, because again, you're giving them the choice to fire and forget in an email, get into some sort of dynamic interaction via chat or via voice call when there's maybe a more complex situation to discuss. When we talk about omnichannel, it's not about how do I make every agent a super agent so they can handle all the channels, but it certainly is about if I start on the web and I start chatting with somebody and then later I have to call somebody, and especially if I start with Oracle Chat and I end up in Cisco, Avaya, or Genesys Voice, how do I make sure the context of who it was, what they were trying to achieve, and the progress they made passes along with them so that you've got that never repeat, never start over experience. So when you see what kind of a difference the being easy to do business with has on loyalty, the #1 metric we're all about from a service delivery perspective, then the metrics that matter are all around customer effort. Speed and ease of resolution. How many interactions did it take for that customer to get their problem or their question resolved? How many repeated steps or repeated information? How many times was information repeated, both on the customer and the agent side? The reason this has been so difficult to pull off, this whole never repeat, never start over experience, is that this is the picture of when you're trying to get data from your IVR or your switch to actually flow and kick off workflow or accelerate workflow on the desktop. 6 to 10 people involved, usually weeks, maybe even a couple of months, depending on the complexity, and you hope you got it right. Well, based on that time and cost and money, there's very little innovation around, gosh, if I could just know this about my customer, I could automatically do this for them or speed that up or recommend even a better solution for them. That's not possible. So what you're going to see Mike Hensley take you through today is our PopFlow product, and we basically took everything about CTI and turned it on its head. And now an Oracle Service Cloud administrator can literally just, they have a designer where they can listen for the appropriate data about who that customer is, what they're trying to do, and he or she now can create powerful Screenpops and workflow acceleration at the time of ring, when the phone is ringing, or at the time the interaction is arriving at the desktop, to, again, drive the agent to the exact right workspace and to drive the right objects and information forward into the workspace. Super powerful, and Mike will show you that in action. The biggest thing is it's drag and drop, it's visual. We reduce the amount of time to literally minutes and hours versus weeks and months. And so what we do is we give you an ability to, quite frankly, an unfair advantage, if you will, in terms of how innovative and creative you can be in how you deliver service. The CRM needs to be the hub. That's where everything around your customer sits. So I know my customer based on the CRM data. Now I know what they're trying to do based on IVR data or where they were doing on the website or with the chat agent. And how do I make sure that that gets evidenced when I answer the call instead of, hey, how are you, and how can I help you, and who are you, and can you authenticate, versus, hey, Mr. Garner, I see you're probably calling about the camera on your S7 Edge based on your chat session earlier with Alicia. I can help you with that right away. Huge from an OpEx perspective, right? That 30 seconds is worth at least 30 cents, probably closer to 50 cents per interaction in savings for me. And I would argue it's the only sustainable advantage you have. It's ease of doing business with your brand. So you get the CX and the OpEx advantage. So you can't personalize at scale without CRM as the hub of your interactions, because that's where everything you know about the customer is. But you need an ability to listen across all those channels and execute across all the objects within Service Cloud, even custom objects that you might have. And PopFlow gives you that unfair advantage in time, money, and risk. And so you can be super creative around making sure that every time I interact with a brand, regardless of the channel, I know Mike, I'm going to respect him and his time, and I'm going to do some really cool things to make sure that this is no harder than it should be for him to get the answer that he needs. And with that, I will kick it over to the smarter Mike on our team, Mike Hensley, and he will actually show you the technology in action.
Thanks, Mike. Let's see, let me get my screen started. If you can let me know when you see that, I would appreciate it.
Looking good.
All right, thank you, sir. So guys, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of Screenpops just to kind of start the conversation and to get your imagination flowing a little bit. These are demo scenarios that we've set up to tell a little bit of a story, so while they may not apply to every single specific industry, it should be enough to give you an idea of what Mike is talking about when he says things like an unfair advantage, and how easy it is to shave off those seconds out of your handle time and to improve customer service, etc., customer experience and agent experience. So to do that today, I'm going to be using our Harmony Media Bar just to take some incoming calls. I'll leave that so that you can watch what's happening over there, but focus more specifically on the Screenpop portion of this. So let me play. Into our center. So in this first example, you get a look into what is a fairly common screen pop. So many customers are already doing what we refer to as legacy screen pops, basic caller ID lookup. In this case, we've done just that. We've configured PopFlow so that if you only know a customer's caller ID, their Annie, we can use that as well to pop information onto an agent's screen to start the process of handling a customer. Typically, we see different things happening here. In this case, you can see I matched the caller ID based on to a contact record in Service Cloud, and I popped that customer's data. Now, there may still be quite a lot of things that I need to do as an agent to handle this call. In this example, we want to have the agents verify the customer's identity. Can you give me your billing address? Is this Randy? Can you give me your billing address? Confirm your telephone number for me, whatever the verification process might be. Once they're verified, then I'm typically starting my interview process with this customer. I've got a new customer. I don't necessarily know a lot of things about him. Hi, Randy. What can I do for you today? What do you need? Randy says he wants to place a new order. Now, obviously, I've got information in Service Cloud about Randy's previous contacts, etc., so I do have that 360-degree view of Randy at this point. But now that I know what Randy does or needs, I can start servicing Randy's request. Okay, Randy, what can I get you today? He's already told me that he's calling to place an order, so I may take notes about the call, disposition the call, etc. Randy says, I want to place an order for a new Apple iPhone. Okay, Randy, let me help you with that. And at this point, now I'm actually starting to do something for Randy. So compare and contrast that to PopFlow way. So let me give you another example here. Bear with me. I'm going to place another call into our contact center. Now, in this example, things looked a little different, right? I got a different screen pop. In this example, I actually dialed into the IVR. The first thing the IVR asked me was, why are you calling? And I told it I wanted to place a new order. It asked me for what. I told it I wanted to order an iPhone. It then verified my identity. Are you Randy Alsop? Can you enter the last, your 7-digit or your zip code or whatever information I used to verify? So I verified my identity to the IVR. You can imagine if we had repeated then the same screen pop that you saw before, even though you were using screen pop, it could be quite irritating from a customer perspective. I just went to the trouble of giving you a lot of information so that you knew who I was and what I wanted. And the first thing the agent asked me when I joined the call was, who are you and what do you want? It's that repeat, right, that we're removing. So in this case, PopFlow is able to receive that information from the IVR and to use it to figure out how best to handle this customer and what screen and information the agent needs in front of them to handle that call so that your experience can be very different now, i.e., hi, Randy, I see you're calling to place an order for a new Apple iPhone. Let me get that for you. And immediately, I'm into servicing Randy's request here. Right? Now, obviously, that's just one example of the things, or of some of the things that PopFlow can do. Using your imagination, I'm sure you'll come up with many, many other better examples that are suitable for your industry, et cetera, your market. The other interesting part of PopFlow is how we get to those screen pops. So in the old days, you probably know, and like to do a legacy screen pop, many of you have probably been through the exercise of trying to define requirements, going through some kind of functional design process, working with developers to identify some kind of technical design for your screen pop, and then going into a pattern of code, implement, test, change, code, implement, test, where we're developing custom code to get you to a screen pop that does what you want it to do in those different scenarios that you're trying to handle. And because those things typically required custom code, they were usually, a screen pop was fairly generic. I tried to have one screen pop that applied to the majority of the lines of my businesses, or one line of my business, my main line of business, where I felt like I could get the most bang for my proverbial buck. What PopFlow does, it takes that entire process and it puts it all in the hands of a Service Cloud administrator. No more development required. I can use PopFlow Studio now to create as many different screen pops as I like. And we do that using a drag and drop designer that allows me to do just that, drag reusable activities out onto my design canvas to create whatever kind of screen pop logic I like, using as much or as little of the information that I have. So when I know who the customer is and what they want and why they're calling and when they've called before, and I'm saying called a lot, but know that this not only applies to voice interactions, but other types of interactions as well, I can use all of that information now as a part of my screen pop, and I can do it again just by simply dragging and dropping. So I can say things like, when a call comes in this case, do a lookup in Service Cloud contact database for a match on the caller ID. So here again, since I've been trained to use PopFlow, I know that all I have to do is click and drag, select different options. And here I'm telling it, do a look for a match on caller ID, Annie, in the contact record. And I can continue dragging and dropping and choosing options in this vein to make the screen pop do whatever I want it to do. So for example, if I showed you the initial screen pop the old way, right, we would say, do a lookup in the contact database. If you find a good match, automatically pop that customer's data, right? And I can test that out and make sure that it actually works. And here's my screen pop. Now, what's interesting about PopFlow, again, because I can go in and modify these screen pops very easily. I don't have to worry about changing custom code. If I decide that that's not what I want the screen pop to do in that scenario, it's easy for me to change it and say, instead of just popping the customer's contact information, Let's go a step further. Let's automatically create a new incident. If we know who that customer is, let's automatically create a new incident and automatically associate the right contact to that incident. So that when I test this same, again, just using the caller ID, when I test this interaction workflow, I can see immediately the change that it will make to my Service Cloud Screenpop. And I can continue on and create, again, whatever kind of logic I want to create. What do you want to happen if you don't find the customer inside of Service Cloud? Let's automatically create a new contact for that customer. And let's take whatever information we know about the customer and let's use it to populate Service Cloud fields so that the agent doesn't have to do that manually. For example, let's put the caller ID that we know into the office phone field. And I can run reports. What happens if you find multiple customers? Let's run a report that only shows those matching contacts that we found so that the agent can select the right person and continue on handling the call as prescribed. We can go even just with basic caller ID much further than that even, because we have this type of integration into Service Cloud. I may want to do things like, if you identify the customer, if you know who the customer is, let's look to see if that specific customer has any open incidents. If they do, let's pop that incident, or let's show them a list of the incidents, show the agent a list of those incidents so that the agent can say, hi, Mike, are you calling back about this open incident that you were just speaking with Alicia on? Yes, I am. And it's getting that information in front of the agent as quickly as possible. And again, because they're easy to create and test, by the way, for those of you who don't know, if I were doing a professional services to accomplish just this simple screen pop, it's not uncommon for this type of screen pop that I just created here in minutes to take 40, 50, 60 hours worth of custom development to create. And now your Service Cloud administrator can create it in minutes. Not only that, but you notice that I was able to test that inside of Service Cloud, so I know exactly what my screen pops are going to do. I can review that with my operations manager, etc., and make sure that things are popping and flowing the way he or she wants them to be. But then deploying these screen pops are just as easy, because PopFlow runs as just a set of standard add-ins within the Service Cloud framework. I can also assign these and deploy these screen pops just as simply. So here I'm seeing a list of all of the different Service Cloud profiles that are in my site. And if, for example, if I want my retail agents to not be using this screen pop, but the new one that I just created, I can simply select it, save it, and the next time any of those agents log into Service Cloud, they're now getting that screen pop. And again, the nice thing about PopFlow is that any changes that I make to that screen pop, I don't have to redeploy. The next time the agent logs in, because of the way Service Cloud installs and operates, those agents will just immediately start getting any changes that I make to this screen pop. And that really gives me the ability to not have to worry about getting the screen pop perfect the first time. I can get a basic screen pop going, get some efficiencies happening now, immediately, and I can iterate my way to success. Right? I can iterate my way to outdoing my competition. And because they're easily modified, etc., I also have the ability to very rapidly test and deploy these screen pops in a real-world environment, do A/B testing, if you will. So, for example, we have many customers that will create a screen pop, and they'll actually deploy it to a select set of agents, to a specific profile of agents. They'll let the agents use the screen pop for a couple of hours. They'll go out and get real-time feedback from the agents. What do you think? What do you like? What do you not like? What's working well? What's working better? What's not working as well? And I can come back and I can make real-time adjustments to that screen pop based on their feedback, and really not only create and test and deploy screen pops very quickly, but also iterate very quickly to gain more and more efficiencies and improve customer service through our Screenpops. So with that, Mike, I will turn it back over to you, sir.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so this is the really cool stuff around, when you have, who's calling, the intent, whether it be on a code that they entered, caller ID, or the number they dialed, just what you can do with that in terms of some really cool stuff around pre-populating maybe a subject field in an incident, which might drive, Smart Assist to the top 5 ways that you can answer their questions or perform the next task or offer the right product. Very, very cool use cases, sort of the it's just it's limited only by your imagination in terms of what you can do because it is so fast and because you can't break and you don't even have to care what's happening on the telephony side. You don't have to care the switch type or the IVR type. So very powerful stuff. Thank you very much, everybody, for spending the last 27 minutes of your life with us. And we'll have this up on OpenMethods.com in the next few days. So look for it there and let us know if you have any questions at OpenMethods.com. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.